I'm just going to visualize how I want the community to be in the future. I want a place where anyone can come with no experience at all to do the diet properly. As long as they can work like 3.5 hours a day, they can come. I want to be able to provide a place for them to stay, whether it's just a tent, even if it's just a tent, and if it's cold outside, then have some a good tent, and then a heater, I guess. I don't know, because it's gonna be expensive to get houses for everyone. That'd be really expensive. But this is just like the beta test community, I guess. I don't know. Place for people to stay just so they can have some shelter if it's raining, or whatever, if it's cold. And they can work 3.5 hours a day, and they get all the food they want. And, well, at the very beginning, it'd probably be all the dairy and meat they want. So, because I don't know about growing the celery and everything. I don't know how that's gonna work, but maybe we can do literally everything. Maybe we can do everything, except for the tropical fruit we have to buy, I guess. I don't know. So like, be able to supply enough food for people to get fat on the diet, and then we'd have hot tubs with spring water or well water. So then, like, anyone can come. They can have work to do right away, and they can get fat, and they can do the hot baths. And they'll be with everyone else on the diet there. Everyone there will be on the diet. There's not going to be nobody eating cooked meat or anything there, unless they're just a visitor. If you want to stay long term, you'd have to be on the diet 100%, or at least 100% raw. And it'd be a very encouraging community. And we cannot have only one community, because one of the farms that I was getting eggs from, the city plans to build a highway, like, literally straight through their farm. They're just going to demolish their farm, fucking ruin it. Or it's right next to their farm. So it's like in the rural a little bit. It's a nice, peaceful place. There's going to be a fucking highway straight next to it, or straight through it. So that can happen to anyone, anywhere in the United States. So we can't just have one community, one farm. So we've somehow figured out how to get one community going, build that up, get it self-sustaining. Let's say I'm the one that makes it happen, then eventually I teach somebody to do my job, and then I give it off to somebody. And then they're the new leader, or manager, or whatever. And then I would go off and start a second community, and do the same thing with my new experience, new knowledge, get more people. Then I'd want dozens of communities all over the United States. And, like, the first one I want to be strict, but then, maybe some of the other communities are not all strict. I can set up mini communities. And they would evolve and be their own thing in the future. Like, I don't know, maybe I give off the reins to somebody and they don't want to do the diet anymore. It's like, oh well, it's not my community anymore. But at least it's something natural, more natural and in nature, self-sustaining. So like, I'm gonna make them all the basis of the Primal diet, but I'm not gonna keep control of them forever. And then I want other people to be making communities too. So like, yeah, I want it to be Primal, but I'm saying that, like, I'm not gonna micromanage every community. I want them to grow on their own. So when I have my children, I just imagine I'm gonna have my children in 15 years. That's what I imagine. I'm 35 years old, so 14 years. I'm 21. So I imagine when I'm 35, I'll have my children. That's just what I put in my head. So when I'm ready to have my children, I'll have dozens of communities established, and I'll have met a lot of people. And then I'll have one very exclusive community, a very private community that's going to be a lot, I imagine it being a lot more disconnected from the world, Like some of these other communities, they might not be like completely off-grid, Some of them, I want to have some off-grid communities, not all of them will be off-grid, But then like this community, I want to be, for my children, completely off-grid. And I want to, like, pick the right people to come to the community. And it would be, this is just what I imagine in my head. I don't know, it can change. 7 families, that's what I imagine. 7 families. And we all raise our children together. And these are people that I think are the best of the best, that have what I want in mind. Well, they want what I want. And we'll raise our children together. So then all our children have good influences to be around, and so they're not like completely alone. So it's like in this community, I want to emphasize like music, martial arts, and spirituality. So it's like we'll have like all the kids will be meditating. We'll have meditation together, and we'll teach them martial arts. So at one point in my life, I'm gonna have to learn martial arts so I can teach my kids martial arts, because I want to learn how to fight. So at some point, sorry, there's a cop in front of me. I lost my train of thought because I got nervous. Okay, sorry. I haven't had meat today, so I don't got that brain full yet, and I only ate 2 eggs instead of 3. Okay, okay, so then now I want the kids to be musicians also, so they can all like spar with each other. They can play music together. So it's like, let's say I have 7 families. Each family has 5 kids. We got 35 kids. That's like a lot of combinations for them to like be different, specialize in different instruments, like playing bands together. And sorry, there's some construction guys blocking the road. I had to pause. Okay. So yeah, they'll have combinations to spar with each other and play music with each other, and to socialize. And so to be a kind of very elitist, it's like the kids will be around like the best of the best, so they have like good competition, so they can grow together very well. And the competition is important for them to grow. And all these communities, I want, well, not all of them, but like the first community, definitely I want to have farming involved to grow our own food. And the last community, definitely. So some of the communities, they might not be farming communities. They might just be, they might be next to farms, and like I said, we can't just have one farm, one community, and we can't have it under one name. We can't just have like one corporation, or they can't all be Scott Hall communities, because if that corporation gets shut down or I get shut down, then all of them are screwed. So it's like we have to put them up under different people's names and different businesses. We can't all just do like one group, and we can't sell to the public in these groups, and we can't even sell. It might even be risky to sell food to people in the community, because like the laws and stuff. So like even like Amos Miller, like they're a private club. They can grow their food how they want and sell it how they want, because it's not sold to the public. But like Audrey just explains all this, and apparently like Amos just, I don't know, they might not be defending themselves properly, or they might not know the law, or they might like, because they're Amish, they're not like defending themselves. I don't know, they don't fight in court or something, I heard. But all the food will probably have to be donation based. It's like you work on the farm and then you get food, or it's like you can't like pay for food. It's like you have to buy something and then trade that item, or I don't know. We just can't do anything that like could get us in trouble and get the community shut down. And then there's like, okay, what if somebody comes to the community and then like they're a moron, and then they get sick and they blame the diet, and then they fucking sue them. It's like, I don't know, we have to have some waivers or something. And like, I don't know, we might not like be able to force people to do the diet, like you have to do the diet, but I don't know, we have to figure out how to do it. So it's like, you got to be on the diet to be in the community. But it's like, if we like kick you out for not eating the raw meat, that might cause some legal trouble, because it's supposed to be dangerous, So we'll have to find some workarounds with that. But like, yeah, some of the communities will be private, some will be public. Some like you just walk in and visit for the day, or come camping, or like see how it is. Or one community I visited in Arkansas, they had probably 7 to 9 people living there. Excuse me. And they probably had like, all of them were working. So basically how it worked was like, you can stay there for free if you work at least, I think, 2 hours a day. And there were a lot of vegans there. But they had some kind of business where they grew mushrooms and sold them to businesses or restaurants. So they made enough money growing and selling mushrooms that they could pay like 3 to 5 workers per day, $15 an hour, like part-time to full-time. So like, I don't know, they made enough money to like literally pay $15 an hour for multiple workers. So like, if we can figure out some kind of jobs to give these people that can make money, it's like we could pay people in the communities, you know? So, I don't know, growing mushrooms, but we could find out other stuff, you know? So it's like, you know, you work for the community, you get to stay, and you make the community money. And then that's how you earn your food, or you get money, and then, maybe some communities will pay, some will be volunteer-based. But, it's like, I'm going to set up communities, and I'm going to teach other people how to do it, so they're not all under my name. And so that can grow exponentially, you know, so that we can have lots of communities. We need to have as many communities as possible. Because, like, yeah, some of the communities might get shut down, they might fall apart. So, and like, let's say I have my ultimate family community. Let's say they build a highway straight through it. It's like, oh, I'm not going to fucking deal with that. I'll just move on, and then we'll merge with some other community, you know? So, you know, we have to have like backup options. So over time, I want to like completely reinvent like the way we live our lives. You know, we have to slowly like get away from our culture that we've been raised in, like the traditional American culture, you know. We grew up watching baseball, eating hamburgers, drinking beer, whatever, or all the stereotypical American stuff, you know, American society. I want new traditions, new values, you know, new beliefs. And like, I don't know, we'll have like events and stuff in the community and make new holidays. I don't want to follow any old holidays. Like, there's not gonna be Christmas, Valentine's Day, all that. I want to get rid of every holiday except for birthdays. Maybe birthdays could be okay, but get rid of all the holidays and make new holidays, and we'll make our new stories, you know, and they might, I don't know, yeah, make new stories, you know, because all the stories that we're teaching our kids and the movies we're showing them, they probably have all this brainwashing shit in the background, you know. So like, and like other things, like I want to be very music based. So like some of the communities have like a stage, or not a stage. Maybe it's like once a week we have a performance, or like we have like improvisation, like you know, like open mic, basically, you know, stuff like that. And you know, the communities would be a lot of fun. You know, it would be in nature. And one of the things I'm going to look for most of the communities is far enough away from a highway to where you do not hear cars. That's really important. I do not want to hear a highway, you know. And just another thing, I've been to 2 communities. One was vegan, one was partially vegan. The vegan one, the woman was telling me that, okay, there's some power lines that go straight through property, and she told me the story. She had these beautiful woods. She loved it so much. Some workers came and said they had to build power lines. She threatened them with a shotgun to leave. They left, and then like they came back and like they like literally put power lines through her property, and they have tons of EMF. I had my EMF meter. It's like I had to set up my tent at least like 20 feet away from them. It had tons of EMF, and they cut down all these trees from like a 10-foot radius. Just cut down all the trees with these power lines straight through her property. And it's like, man, that could happen to any community. That could happen anywhere. Highway, power lines, so they just build straight through it. So that's why we can't have only one community. And like, not all the communities are going to be able to be huge, you know. But what would be good is having like really big communities, you know. So if something like that happens, it's just like you fucking like don't go to that part of the land. You just pretend it's not yours, or you sell that section or something, you know. So I also want to build caves for meditation in the community, because I want to have like some kind of rotation for meditation retreats, so that like everybody gets their time to go into the cave for a week, you know. Because when you're in complete darkness for several days, your brain starts releasing loads of DMT, and the people that advocate this darkroom therapy, they explain that like when an animal is hurt, they go into a cave and they rest. And these people also talk about fasting. They say they fast in the cave, but we would set up the caves with, like, toilets and a fridge and stuff, so you can still do the diet while you're in the cave, you know. Or maybe you'd fast on raw eggs while you're in there or something, you know. So you at least don't like become malnourished. But yeah, they say like being in complete darkness for like 5 days is like doing ayahuasca. And you have all these, like, they say like it's like constant, like for days. Like you're like going in and out of your body, and like you're dreaming while you're awake, and like you can't tell the difference between sleep and dream after some point. And they say it's like one of the best things in the world. And I think that'd be really important for removing our conditioning from society, so that we can like come back to nature and then rediscover who we are and discover and develop a new way of life. So I think the meditation retreats would be very important. And I don't know, maybe we can somehow make it some religious group so that we can like legally do peyote or something, you know, like religious exemption, so that, I don't know, we have like psychedelic rituals that are legal, you know, because I wouldn't want to do anything illegal that's like part of the community, because then the community could get shut down for, you know, some reason. So if you figure out some legal way to do psychedelics, you know, I think psychedelics are good for reprogramming your brain, you know. Or, you know, the Native Americans, like you can join the Native American church and do peyote with them legally, which is pretty cool. I'd like to do that someday. If we had a lot of money to work with, I would want like almost like a condo type building, where, you know, it's like you have your own room, but it's all, everybody's in one building together, the same building, we share it, but all the rooms are soundproof, and there's windows on the ceiling so that you get natural sunlight, and then we can grow plants indoors and have like a really good air filter system, so that even if there's like tons of chemtrails, we could have like the cleanest air ever inside. And you wouldn't hear the other people because you'd have soundproof rooms. This would be mainly for the air quality. And different communities can specialize in different things. Like we could have like a music-based community, and or like just an idea. It doesn't have to be a community. It could be like a business. It's like, what if you had a business that was in the middle of a polluted city, like a really polluted city, but then you have everything made out of natural material, and you have lots of plants and air filters. So it's like you could be in like Los Angeles, horrible pollution, go inside this building and have like the cleanest air ever. And then you could do that for a lot of places. You could just like make that a yoga place, or a meditation place, or you could have a music store where, like, let's say like they have soundproof rooms, and each room is equipped with a drum set, microphone, computer, bass, guitar, piano, and then it's like you pay a membership fee of, I don't know, $100 a month, $150 a month. Then like you can rent out those rooms, and like it's like you can use it as much as you want, but then like there's like a schedule. You have to plan ahead for when you want to use it, or if nobody's using it, they can go in and use it. So it's like, you know, a business with clean air, and they have practice rooms. You can go in and practice whenever you want. So if it's like, if you don't have a place to practice, you can go there and practice. And then it's like you can meet other musicians there, and you can like perform with them, and like, practice with them, or practice by yourself, and then it'd be a place to meet musicians. Like that's one idea for a business I had. That'd be really nice. Like if there's a place in town and it had clean air, or even let's say just has a normal place, and I could pay $150 a month, and I can go there and play the drums whenever I want, and then meet other people. That'd be awesome, you know. No, maybe it costs more, or maybe you rent by the hour. Maybe it's like $5 per hour you rent the room. Like I want it to be affordable, because a lot of musicians are young, so I want like young people to be able to come and practice and meet people, you know. then you can also teach lessons there. So I don't know, we could like have a community with a business inside the community. Then people like come to the business to use it, but then like there's also people living there at the same time, you know. When I was thinking about doing the Airbnb thing for money, well, which I can't do because I need money to furnish it. But like if I had money, I was doing something like that, that'd be really exciting for me, because like I could have like a house. Well, if it has unnatural materials, you can get the space heaters and outgas all the chemicals out of the walls. And then like remove anything unnatural, like all the synthetic fibers, carpets, and furniture. Have only natural materials, and sorry, had an egg in my mouth, eggshell. And then you can have lots of plants and air filters. So like you can like rent an Airbnb or even a hotel, and then each room or the whole place has like super clean air. So it's like if people have asthma or allergies, they could come here and get away from it and have like, and just breathe really well, you know. Or if they're chemically sensitive, you know, or it could be like a meditation place, you know, come here and then like you can meditate better, you know. And I'm also interested in possibly relocating to Mexico or Latin America in the future, because it's like Latin America doesn't get involved in any wars, you know. Mexico didn't fight in World War I or World War II. It's like they're not involved. They don't really seem to have any enemies except for maybe their neighbors, but I don't think they're gonna nuke each other. And when I lived in Mexico, well, I was only there for 2 months, but everything was like probably like 75% of everything was grown locally. So you know, if like shit hit the fan, it wouldn't really affect them that much, you know. They would just have to walk more, you know. Like most people had cars, but like some people would like walk an hour one way, and they spend like 2 hours walking a day to their job, you know. Like this one kid, he was like 16, his name was Jose, and every day he'd walk like an hour to the farm. In this fucking hot, he'd walk an hour, show up to the farm. Sometimes he'd get a ride, but sometimes he'd just walk an hour in the heat. Then he'd work for like 8 hours, and then he'd walk back home. You know, so like they don't even need gas. You know, they don't even need cars. So, like all the markets, like almost all the stuff was grown locally. You know, and there's like at least like 4 or 5 dairies within like 45 minutes of there, or 30 minutes. So, like here, it's like almost everything is like. There's barely anything local here, you know. So shit would be horrible here if gas was non-existent, or like $20 a gallon or whatever, $10 a gallon, I don't know. If anything happened, you know, they'd be fucked, you know. What was weird in Mexico is that there was lots of police with assault rifles, and they'd be standing on trucks driving around, and I don't know, I think it's for the cartel or something, but I drove there alone. I drove from St. Louis, Missouri to Escuintla, Chiapas, Mexico. It was about a 40-hour drive. It took 5 days. And all my friends and family were so scared. They're like, thought I was gonna get hurt or something. And they're like, oh, the cartel is bad. And then when I got there, he was like, Carlos, the guy I lived with, he's like, did your family worry about the cartel? And then basically said like he made fun of them, saying the Americans are all scared of the cartel when they barely have anything to. They don't like, you know, it's like doesn't matter. It's like, you know, like, you know, maybe some areas are bad, but it's like, you know, there's been no trouble in his town, and it's like way over exaggerated. Because when I went there, it's like, okay, the news and like the conventional wisdom is that Mexico is bad. That probably means it's good. If they're saying the cartel's all bad and scary, then it's like, okay, well, they're probably just doing that to scare us, to make us not go to Mexico, because actually Mexico is great, you know. And yeah, it's harder to do the diet. You don't make as much money. So if you're born in Mexico, it is harder. You know, you can't make as much money. But like if you are American and you have a job outside the country or some sort of business or way to make money online, you know, then you're fine. It's like your money is worth more in Mexico than the United States. But then like also the other Latin American countries could be good too. But Odgenus didn't want to go to South America because like the Bush family and Bill Gates, they bought a lot of farmland there, so they're really involved there. But he said they're not involved in the Philippines because of all the volcanoes. But the thing is, somebody told me they live in the Philippines, and to travel between the islands, you have to have 2 vaccines. So I don't know, you know. The reason I like the idea of Mexico is like, you know, I can drive home. You know, I don't have to get on a plane or get vaccinated to get on a plane, or like, you know, some people have driven like from America to like South America and back, you know. So with the farming I've been studying, Greg Judy, he's a great guy. I really like his videos. His cows are really fat. Basically the idea is that, well, first, all you need is money for fence and maybe water and hay. That's about it. He says you find land that nobody wants. You know, it doesn't have a fence. It's like, it could have even grown soybeans with chemicals for years, and the soil is horrible. And what he says is you get a really, really, really cheap deal on it, like $10 to $25 per acre per year. And then you get paid to let other people graze their animals on your land, but there's like no grass. So then you feed them hay. So he says like when he started, he'd get paid 50 cents per animal per day. So because his land was so shit, he had to buy the hay. So then he'd have other people's animals there, and then he'd feed them hay. And then as they shit over time, the soil got better because the other people's animals were making his land healthier. And then like, I don't know, after like 2 or 3 years, then the soil starts to get healthier. And then by then you probably have money to raise your own animals, to buy your own animals. Then you start raising your own cattle or sheep. He says sheep are better to start with because they make money faster and they're lower maintenance. He says like you can like have a baby and it can have a baby in 1 year. So I think that's what he said. So then it's like after 2 or 3 years, then like your land is doing better, then they can start eating the grass. And then like he had like a field that was like the worst of the worst, like soybean, like chemicals every year. And he says like it's after like 13 years, like his land is like the healthiest, like the best of the best. There's like no residue of the chemicals at all, and all the animals are perfectly healthy, like no signs of disease at all, and they're all super fat. So you can turn over the land, and he says you get like a 5 to 7 year lease at least, or longer. And he says you want a place that has at least 20 to 40 inches of rainfall a year, because you don't have to water, you know, if there's, you know, you don't have to like use your water because you're gonna run out of water if you're in like a desert, you know. So he says you just need a fence and like a water source, like a pond. So you build a pond, and then some farms he doesn't even have a pond. He just like fills the same with water every day. And I don't know if that's exactly how it is, but what I think he's saying is you let the animals eat the top third of the grass. He says if the grass is too high, you mow it high. And I think he said you don't want the seeds on the grass. He says that's too long, because they don't digest the seeds well. I'm not sure if that's true or not. He says keep it in a vegetative state. I'm still learning. But he says you let the animals eat the top third of the grass, and then you move them. So you move them 2-3 times a day, or once a day, 1 to 3 times a day. So then you let them eat the top third of the grass, and then you move them. And then like they'll eat, and then they'll be satisfied, and they'll be laying down. Then you start moving the electric fence. So you have a perimeter fence, and then you have electric fence. And then they'll all get up and they'll get all excited, and they'll be mooing and screaming, and they want the new grass. And then like they'll be all content, and then they see you move, and then they're all excited. And then then they start eating again. And then you move them constantly. And this is because if you let them eat the grass too much, they'll eat it to the root. They'll eat the bottom of it, and they'll kill it. And then it's gonna take a really long time to recover. And then they're also going to like step on the soil too much or damage it somehow. So you don't let them kill the plants. You know, if they're walking on the same plants every day, they're gonna kill them. So he says depending on how fast the grass is growing, basically you have, well, he says the worst case scenario, you have 60 rotations before you're back at the same spot, so the grass can recover fully. So they're always getting the best quality grass. And he says, like, if you're feeding your cows grain, you should just sell them, because you do not have to sell them grain at all. He says you want to get animals that are adapted to your land, so like for your environment. So you don't take a cow with lots of hair to a hot environment, So you want animals that are adapted to your land, and animals that are already used to eating grass, And then so like he talks about culling animals, and he explains that like if a cow is giving too much milk to its baby, that's the cow you slaughter or sell, because he's focusing on meat. He's not focusing on dairy cows. So like he wants the fattest of the fat cow, he wants the fattest cows. So because if they're giving their babies a lot of milk, then they're gonna get skinny. So I know, like, if I had a community right now and I posted on all social media that it's like, hey, you can come to do the diet perfectly with other people on the diet. You have to work 3.5 hours a day. Just to guess, I'd probably have 5 to 10 people willing to come in 1 to 3 months, and stay there like for a long time, like years. Like if there's something like this, I would be there in an instant. I would, like, the second I have enough gas money to get there, I would be on my way. So it's like, a lot of people on the diet are young, and most important of all, the kids won't be vaccinated, and we'll homeschool them. And if possible, I want to try to get out of homeschooling the kids. I don't want the kids to have any education. It's like, teach them math. That's all they need to know. Like, everything in school is useless except for math, basically. And yeah, we'll teach them like how to fucking write. We'll teach them English and math, but not in some like formal system. It's just like we teach them as we feel like it, when it's ready for them to learn. Or like that one kid Audrey talks about, that one kid who was raised on the diet without any vaccines. He'll pick up a book and teach himself. He learned how to read on his own. He learned all this stuff on his own. Nobody taught him. So like, so like we don't even have to teach the kids, because they'll be so smart if they're raised on the diet, and if they're not fed breast milk, and if they're fed raw milk, because breast milk is shit, because the human is vaccinated and ate cooked food their whole life. Even if you're on the Primal diet for 3-5 years, raw milk from a cow is still going to be way better. Yeah, even if the cow has a few vaccines and is fed some grain, it's still going to be way better than 3-5 year Primal milk. Because like, yeah, let's say you give a cow 10 vaccines. The cow weighs like 10 times more than a human, and a human has like fucking 50 vaccines, or 200 or 300, so still it's gonna be better. Plus the cow, like, even though it's got the vaccines, it's like it's still eating the grass, it's eating raw food, so it's been detoxing them its whole life already. And then I imagine, like, after these communities are going for a while, like, we're gonna have some like missionaries for the diet. It's like we'll have all these like brilliant, really healthy people in the communities, and then like we can, like, I don't know, send people out to go like spread the word. It's like let's say we have like fucking 15 people who are incredibly healthy, just like full of health. We'll tell them, go work on as many farms as you can over the summer. Or it's like, like you can wolf on a farm for 2 weeks at a time, 1 week at a time, sometimes a day. So it's like, over the summer, it's like, hey, you got 3 months, go work on 5 farms. Then we have like 15 people that do it. Then it's like you're on the farm and like you're telling them about the diet, you're teaching them the proper farming practices. So then you're like converting all these farms to like raising their food properly, and then maybe get them to do the diet. So then like we can just like spread the diet like wildfire, because if you have like all these people going to these farms, they're incredibly healthy, like obviously healthy, like obviously better health than anyone they've ever seen in their whole life. They're gonna listen. If you want to be like obviously healthier than anyone that somebody's ever met in your entire life, you probably have to be fat and do the 90-minute hot baths for like, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, and then you're good. Unless you're extremely diseased, then it'd take longer. But like, if you're doing the long hot baths and you're fat for a long time, you're gonna be so incredibly healthy. And like, I don't want to be the leader of this. I don't want anybody to be the leader of this. It's all for Ogenus. And Ogenus isn't here. You know, so it's like all based on Ogenus. And then also like healthy spiritual lifestyles. You know? It's like Primal diet plus Tibetan Buddhism plus, I don't know, New Age. I don't know. A lot of people don't like that word, but like, I don't know, the diet plus the spiritual practices. Throw in some music and martial arts in there, you know? So, yeah, it might sound New Age, but whatever. Fuck you. I said that because a lot of people don't want to be spiritual because it's associated with New Age. And those people piss me off. Because, like, some frauds are promoting spiritual stuff, but they're frauds, so it makes it look bad. But that doesn't mean all spiritual practices are bullshit. Yeah, so like I might be one of the first ones to actually start one of these communities, but like I want other people to be doing it too. It's like I'm gonna have the community, then I'm gonna let go of it and let somebody else run it. Then I'm gonna start a new community, then a new one, and then I'm gonna get other people to make them with me, and then teach other people to make the communities. And like if I have enough money, I'm gonna give it away. I'm gonna like give people money to start their own communities. If I figure out a way to make money and lots of it, I'm gonna share the money with other people so that they can share it too. And so, you know, it's like if I had a lot of money, I'd be like using it to like pay people to do great things. You know, I wouldn't just hoard it. I'm not gonna keep my money sitting in a bank. I'm gonna invest in farms. Like if I had like millions of dollars, I wouldn't just keep it. I would invest it in farms. I'd buy more farms than I need, and I'd have other people run the farms for me. You know, basically give them the farms, but have some rules like, hey, you can have this farm, but if I ever need it, I can come back and have it. You know, and then I wouldn't kick them out. Just like, you know, I'd squeeze myself into the farm. You know, so if I had extra money, I'd be starting farms, having other people work on them for me, get them self-sustaining. They'd basically be their farm, except for I own it, and I let them stay there as long as they're doing everything properly, and then I can come there if I need to. So I have a bunch of backup options, and like let's say I go bankrupt, then all my properties are fucking taken. You know, I would want to set it up in a way to where like figure out some way to do it where I literally give somebody the farm, like just give them all the farm, but have some rule in there where I'm like, I don't know, some kind of partial owner. So if I go bankrupt, they can't sell my property to pay for the bankruptcy or whatever if I get sued, you know? So that's technically not mine, but I always have a place in the farm, you know? So I have some security.